Alright, here again, working on this furnace. So, having this now like almost like, not a like winding sound, but like a wah 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 off my blower motor. I actually replaced my end of my blowing motor, like the controls. I think it was not last year, but the year before, because the control burned up. So now here I am. I'm going to try to replace it with a newer replacement motor right there. So start off with, this is my model number, product. It's a Carrier. I'm going to pull this panel out. There's 2 bolts. And I already cut off the heater, and since we're dealing with the motor in here, we had to make sure we cut the breaker off too. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back to you. Alright, here we are. There's my blower motor right there. And so you remove these 2 bolts up here, there, and the other one, and the whole unit slides out through those little metal tongs right there. So it should slide right out. So we're gonna do that. Have a lot of stuff attached, but I think once I get this to come out, I can take out that bolt and that bolt, and there's another one on the bottom right there, and then the whole board can be pushed to the side here. This can go to the side, and then I can disconnect the endings on that and push this to the side, and then I can pull out the whole unit. So we're gonna go ahead and do all that, and hopefully we'll have this out and we can start working on putting the new one in. So like I said, I removed that bolt and that bolt, and now this whole thing is sliding out. So now I can get to these 2 and the one on the bottom here. So then this whole unit can go to the left, and then I just have to deal with this and the 2 wires on the motor. But I think once I get this out the way, this being the control board here, I can slide this out more and take care of the capacitor and the wires to the motor. Alright, so I already took those 3 bolts out holding this on, so this is loose. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that off the board. I'm going to take out that black one on the top, and I'm going to take out this white one, and that'll disconnect all the electrical from the board. And I think that'll allow me to move this up, the board up and out the way, and I can slide the whole unit out. So we'll be back to it. Alright, as you see, I pulled it out. It just slides right out, but I did have to pull off the door switch. That screws in just right there. It's kind of to the side. But you just hold all this up, and that, along with the door switch there, and you can just slide out the whole unit in front of you. So I just slid it out, moved it over there. So now we're going to get to work on replacing that motor. Just make sure you have this supported and don't just let it hang on there. Alright, as you can see here, this is the Evergreen series, and this is a direct replacement for this motor. What happened was the old control unit, this burned out, and this one was actually on this motor. So I replaced it and put the new one on this one, and it worked, fired right up. The old one died on me. So the first thing we're gonna do is, there's a set screw on the actual wheel, which is on the inside, which is there. You can see it right there. So we're gonna undo the set screw so that the motor can slide out. And then once we undo the set screw, we're gonna undo these 4 bolts there, and we'll pull the motor right out after we undo these. But I'll set that up for getting that done, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, so loosen the set screw. As you can see, it's turning. You'll hear it just be careful because it'll slide back in because you got to have this wheel in the middle. So loosen that up. That's loose. So we'll go over to the other side. Just be careful with your hands because there are some sharp spots on here. Coming from experience, you'll hear the wheel go back to the bottom. Wait a second. There, you heard it. Alright, and I already disconnected the electrical, but just take a picture because there's different connectors for different locations. So this one for mine was on the bottom here, and then this one was on the top. So just make sure you take a picture when you take off the old one to make sure you can match it to your new replacement motor. So now I'm going to go ahead and take out the 4, remove the motor, and then we'll take off the actual control here, because this was the one that was on my replacement motor I bought a while back, and I was waiting for this motor to give out on me, but I feel like it's on its way out. So I'm going to put that on there, take the other one off, and put it back on this one. Alright, all 4 bolts are out. Also make sure you note where this connector is in comparison to where your actual housing mounts in your unit. So we want the connectors to be close but on the underside of the capacitor. So we're going to take this on out. There it is, right on out. So what we're going to do now is pop off this, slap it on the replacement motor, and that one has a belly band, so we're going to have to mark where these are in relationship to the motor so that we can tighten that belly band down so it'll mount properly into here. So here we go. Alright, 2 bolts are loose, so then this whole thing will pop off. I don't really have enough hands to do it. There we go. And then you'll see the connector right there, so you got to undo that connector, and it'll be the same thing that's in this one, and I'm just going to swap them, and I'll show you how this one melted on me this past year. Alright, so took they're almost identical how these are set up, but this is the one that burnt on me last year on the old motor. As you can see, it smelled really bad in the house. It smelled like someone was burning rubber. You can see where it failed on me right there. So this one, when I'll be going to the dump, this is the new one, so we're going to slap this on the new motor, get this all tightened up, and then we'll start working on the belly band. Alright, so connected the wires back, and you can see there's a little knob right there. So you can't really put it back on wrong because there's that little notch right there on the casing. So there's only one place where this thing can get attached. So go ahead and do that. Stick the 2 bolts in, and we're good. Alright, here we are. So I ended up putting the right one back on the new motor, which this is by Evergreen. It was the cheapest one I could find because they wanted like $800. Because I guess these are like 2 or 3 speed motors, so not just like 1 speed. So these things were really expensive from like the HVAC shops and even finding a carrier replacement. So I found this, which is like an Evergreen Gentech. Hopefully, here we go. So I'm hoping it's going to be a direct replacement. It seemed like it had all the right specs, same top control. So now I'm trying to get this belly band on. I want to make sure everything is right. So first I'm going to make sure that the right lengths, they look to be the same height. I measured them, they're the exact same length. So I then took the belly band, which is this, with the feet, and they're the exact same length as well. So if I just make sure that the distance from here to this top of that cap screw is the same as when I do it on the new motor with the belly band, I will be fine, because then the rotor and the motor will be sitting in the same location, and I'll be able to put that wheel on with the set screw with no issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So as you can see here, if I actually get this thing on right, it's like 2 1/16, a little bit more than 2. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the same thing here, and I'll mark it. I'm gonna put that belly band in the same case, same place. So I'll just mark that at 2 1/16, or 1/32, one of the two. And then slide that down, make sure it's even all the way around, and then I'll tighten her on by using that bolt right there. It's a 7/16 bolt for mine. So I did a little bit more measuring because it was hard getting the top of this, but I went on this side to measure to the top of that, and I came out to 2 1/8, as you can see right there. It's really hard holding this thing in the right spot with one hand. That's 2 1/8. So I measured that on both sides of this, make sure it's level. Did that on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide her down and tighten her up. See there, I have this kind of in the middle here, it can't be blocked. This is pretty much exactly the same as the old one. As you can see, it's a little closer, but it'll be all right. Took me a little time to get this belly band to sit right, but when I tightened it, but she's on the mark on both sides. So looks good. We're gonna tighten this up just a tad bit more to make sure it's nice and secure. It's gonna be vibrating and be in there for a long time, so I'll tighten up a little bit, and then we're gonna get her back in. All right, here we are back. Tightened everything on, shoved it in. As you can see, mine were a little bit out from where they were. Bent them in a little bit. I don't think it'll be an issue. Still has the new isolators and everything on it. So slid it into the actual wheel. As you can see, it's a little out, but it won't hurt. So one of the things you gotta do is make sure your wheel is in the center of this. You don't want it hitting anything, so you want to make sure you spin it, make sure nothing's gonna hit. And then the next thing you do, you gotta make sure that your set screw, this, is gonna hit on the square part of the shaft from the motor. So as you can see, here's the flat rim. So you just want to make sure when you tighten down on this set screw, it's going to hit on that flat part perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and put this, button this up, put the set screw on, and then put her back in. Cross your fingers, it works. All right, back in there. It's running. You can still kind of hear that light humming noise. I don't know why. If you know why, let me know in the comments. But at least she's running. Just to wrap things up, this is the old motor. The new one's in there. You can hear her running. So since it wasn't the motor, I don't know what else it could be. That little humming noise. I mean, I already showed you where this one went bad this past summer, and I had to pull it off and replace it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this old motor because the motor still works. That's a wrap on this project. Furnace is back together and she's running. I think it's like 23 degrees outside right now, so we'll see how the night goes. Hopefully no more fixing on the furnace. Hangry Angler out. Well, did some looking around, as you can tell. You won't hear that noise anymore. And that's because my unit used to have one of those, I think they're the electronic air cleaner, there it is, a carrier. Anyways, I ended up, since, you know, the electrical part isn't hooked up anymore, I found out the person that lived here had shoved air cleaners into the returns at where I just showed you. Instead instead I just used what was here already, which was this. Just gonna get it out with one hand. I figured this would be a better way to make sure air's clean. So as you see here, my air cleaner this filter was really dirty before I cleaned it off. I used this reusable mat, but I found out with it being so dirty, and I had this top layer had some in there too, which was this. I don't know if it was just putting too large of a DP pressure loss through the filter, but I cleaned it, and essentially the only part that was dirty was essentially right above this line down was dirty. It was pretty dirty. Probably shouldn't let it go that long, but I did that, and now my problem's gone. There's no more whining, so figured that out. I don't know if anybody else has that issue, but I don't have that whining anymore from the blowing motor. So I'm out, done for the night.